Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV, and I'm the editor here at MetaStellar. I'm here to talk about the #1 best-selling speculative fiction book on Amazon today. And basically, it's imagine your favorite Bridgerton sister, but she has magic abilities. The book is so cool. I love it. But before we get to that, we've got 9 other books to get through on today's top 10 list, covering all kinds of topics. You see, every Friday, the team here at MetaStellar reads the first few chapters of every science fiction and fantasy book on Amazon's top 10 list. These are free books. They're all free. Today, I was helped out by reviews editor Amira Lutfi, news editor Alex KOROLOV, assistant fiction editor Terrence Smith, and community member ROMEL MADRAY. And Terrence and ROMEL are here with me now. Hi, guys.
Hi, Maria.
Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. I missed you guys last week. I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you.
All right.
Everything's fine here. Just a leaky reactor core, extremely dangerous.
So, in addition to the book I just mentioned, on our list today, we have a genetically modified former soldier, a high schooler with illegal magic, a swashbuckling treasure hunter, and a solar flare that turns deadly. The link to the full article is in the description box below. For those who are new, MetaStellar is an online magazine of speculative fiction. The content is always free for our readers. We publish original short fiction, reprints, excerpts, essays, and lots of book reviews, like this one. We are able to do this and keep all the content completely free thanks to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. And our first anthology is out. See? It's available in both print and electronic form on all the major platforms. The link to that
Buy my book.
Below. It's a real book. It's got all the best stories from our first year. So, and we're already working on our second anthology. I'm editing it now as we speak. So, let us begin with book number 10 on today's list. I'm going to pull it up for you so you can see the image. Let's make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see the picture better. There you go. The Fomorian Brigade by James David Victor. The first of 7 books in the Gene Soldiers military sci-fi series. The books are between $1 and $4 each, and the 7th book is currently available for pre-order. It will be coming out next month. And the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited, if you don't know, is where you pay $10 a month and you read all the books you want. It's like Amazon's answer to Netflix for books. It's kind of cool. I'm a member because I read a lot, and I always like it when I see that a book is in Kindle Unlimited. And a lot of big name authors have books in Kindle Unlimited. I think all the Harry Potter books are in there. It's a really good program. So I read the beginning of this book, and Carl is a vet, and he's suffering from the after effects of his time in the service. Specifically, he was in an experimental program injected with drugs and genetic treatments that induced rage and seizures, but also resulted in increased combat awareness and performance. And they needed their soldiers to have this because they were battling aliens and various kinds of alien invasions on various alien planets. So lots of space travel and combat with weird alien creatures in here. Kind of reminds me of David Drake's Hammer Slammers, except that the foes are aliens. So maybe more like was it called? Battleship Troopers? Space Troopers?
Starship Troopers.
There you go. Starship Troopers. Thank you very much, ROMEL.
Super Troopers.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. So Carl is retired from the military, but everybody else who's retired from the group he was in were sent to rehab because of those seizures and episodes of rage, and never came out again. So he's avoiding rehab and trying to blend in with the civilian society and trying to keep his seizures and rage under control. And so he's on this colony called New Persephone, and the local police chief knows his real identity and background and is blackmailing him. And so there's been some kind of an infection of a mutant alien thing in the docks. The police chief wants to keep it quiet. He doesn't want the docks to have to stop production, which will cost money. So he wants Carl to go in there and just take care of it quietly. Carl would rather that they did it through channels. Fewer people would get killed that way. But the police chief, first of all, is blackmailing him. Secondly, the police chief has that secret medicine that Carl needs. So he takes the gig. The medicine will keep him going for another 2 or 3 months, which will give him time to get off New Persephone and find someplace else where he can start over. So he goes into the docks looking for this weird mutated alien creature, and he's fought mutated alien creatures before, and these things are nasty. So I like this book very much. Like I said, it reminds me of Hammer Slammers or Starship Troopers, except the main character is more of an independent mercenary rather than an active service member. But the tone is kind of similar, full of action. I like Carl. I love the setting. Very well realized. I'm having fun reading this. I'll probably stick with it this weekend.
Okay.
Next, we have Lost Souls by W.J. May, the first of 6 books in the Mending Magic dystopian young adult series. The other books are $4 each, and the series is not in Kindle Unlimited, so you'd have to pay real money for the rest of the books. W.J. May is a regular on these lists. We reviewed the Kerrigan Kids in April of 21, and then a whole bunch of other series and books, including this one. This book has been on this list before as well. So I've read it, but I didn't realize that I'd already read it. So we assigned Rommel to read it. And Rommel, what did you think of it?
It sounds like we've kicked a dead horse here 20 times. But anyway.
21.
21. Yeah, 21. Anyway, so it's a young adult. For me, it's a young adult novel set in Southern California. The main protagonist is a young man, James. He's under 18. He's about to be probably next couple months 18 years old. He's good looking. He's rich. He's the son of one of the most powerful men in the United States of America. Let's see, what else? I think he's quarterback of the football team. He's everything. He's like I don't know, Justin Bieber.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, maybe, or something. But so it's hard for me to connect with this character. It's like, this is everything I'm not. Okay, great. But anyway, and the book is written in first point of view style, and and one of the areas with this book is that it's a dystopian world where magic has come into it. It's kind of a big deal where they have these secret police in white vans, so which means like, no longer black vans but white vans. But anyway, and they kind of haul, whenever they see someone doing magic, they take them and grab them up and put them somewhere, I don't know, maybe Nebraska. But it's like that. And it's written as a paranormal romance. So he's found his love interest, who's like a nerdy, beautiful girl. But both of them are like, let's focus on school and not the fact that we have this debilitating and dangerous condition called magic, which may lead to both of us incurring long prison sentences. But anyway, so the book for me, it uses dystopia as a background, but it's not a dystopian book. It's primarily a romance book. And there was some, if I'm reading it as a romance book, like a traditional romance book, there was some non-linkages, like some things didn't mesh well. But I think for readers of the genre, where those things are not shown, it falls well into, if you're comfortable reading this kind of genre, you would fall into it. For a new reader, it's a bit of a challenge because some things don't have continuity. Like in one of the scenes, he has this mysterious, he turns up, he holds in a pencil in his hand and gets on fire, and then he forgets all about it. And the person who saw him, he has a book report due the next day, and they don't even talk about it. And the fact that it's first person point of view, you would think he would be thinking about, listen, I just turned a pencil on fire in front of everyone. The person who saw it, it might be, is that person worried that I might turn them on fire? You know, it's kind of like, it's just left. So for me, it was some kind of
Nothing to see here, people. Move along.
Exactly. Nothing
That's the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, these are not the droids you're looking for. So it's but I think if you're a reader of this kind of genre and you let go of certain things, it will suit a current reader of this genre and also this particular type of book. If you're a new reader, your expectations may be different. You may be not willing to let go of some things. It wasn't as for me, it wasn't it didn't have a lot of action in terms of continuity, so I'm kind of giving it a miss. But it was well written in terms of the genre that it's written in, and for those who like this particular genre, I would recommend it. For those who aren't familiar with the genre and coming into it, I may not recommend it as much, because there's a bit of a learning curve to let go of some things as a reader. Okay.
Yeah, so I read the beginning of this book too, and I have to agree with ROMEL. If you've never read a book of this genre before, you might want to start with something else. The Divergent books come to mind, or the Hunger Games. This one has a lot less action than those books. It's more of a high school teenage drama kind of book, although it might pick up. I mean, I didn't read far enough.
But the kids aren't angsty. I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be angsty. Well, in this genre, I'm expecting angst, and he isn't. He isn't really angsty. I'm like, okay. He's pretending angst.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Amira also read it, and she says that that she wasn't caught up by the plot, that the setting wasn't interesting enough for her, and the plot lines were kind of weak. But if you're a fan of high school dramas, then maybe you'll love this. So same thing we all say. If you can't get enough of high school drama with a little bit of magic, then maybe you might like this book. And a lot of people do. W.J. May is a pretty well-selling novelist. And they've been on this list a lot. So obviously a lot of people like their books. All right, moving on to Kissed by Magic. Let me pull that up for you guys. Kissed by Magic by Erica Ridley. And this is the first of 3 books in the Must Love Magic paranormal romantic fantasy series. Hold on. I just switched the wrong one. There we go.
Do not adjust your set.
Kind of skipped ahead there a little bit. Pretend you didn't see that. All right. So, and okay, so again, I don't like paranormal romance. I don't like touchy-feely stuff, but I like this book. I liked it, and I'm probably gonna keep reading it. I'm 95% sure I'm gonna keep reading it. The entire series isn't Kindle Unlimited. There's 3 books in the series. The other books are normally $7 and $4 each. So I was sold on this from the first paragraph. Lance is a swashbuckling bounty hunter and soldier for hire who lives above the 24-hour Pawn and Potion, a dingy hovel of ill repute tucked between two steel and glass skyscrapers. This
Nowhere else will you find a bigger hive of scum and villainy.
This book has everything. It has the modern world, it has magic, it has pirates, it has castles, it has potions, and I mean, like, everything you possibly would want is thrown in this book and mixed up together, but it makes sense. The setting feels plausible and fun, and I'm really enjoying it. So
setting up the original Ghostbusters as well.
So it's been 5 decades since magic returned to the world. And the store's fluorescent sign, for example, the open sign, is powered by enchantment. So Lance is coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning, the week before Christmas. He wants to just hit sack and sleep for another week or two. When he sees a poster by the door, a wanted dead or alive poster with his face on it. So it seems that a rival of his is annoyed that Lance got his hands on some diamonds that the rival wanted to get, and that the rival thinks he should have gotten first, and he wants either the money or Lance's head. And the money is 100,000 drachma. And Lance has already spent the money. He put down a deposit on a pirate ship on layaway, not refundable, and still needs 175,000 more to pay off the balance. So, which is just the most fun, ridiculous premise. So anyway, he's desperate for money, and he comes up with a plot to get it. He is going to go after the mystical golden bloom of eternal youth, which is hidden at the Castle Kavanaugh, and nobody's ever made it back from the castle alive. But if he is able to get this golden bloom, he can sell it for millions, or maybe even billions. He'll be set for life. So I love the narrative style of the story. It's fun and lighthearted. I love the banter between Lance and his landlord, who's the owner of the pawn shop. I love the world building, and it's just super fun. Like, for example, the pawn shop used to sell a lot of spell books, but because of digital readers, nobody's buying them anymore, and he's got a pile of them that people can just take for free, and nobody wants them. So there's little fun elements like that throughout the story. I am really enjoying it. It just seems like a really, really fun way to spend a weekend, and I'm looking forward to reading it very much. It's now at the top of my reading list, ahead of that Space Mercenary book that I talked about a couple of books back.
You make me actually want to read this, because like it sounds more like a very fun book.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the answer to cold fusion as a power source for space travel. So if they want to tie in that, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to the sun with magic.
It sounds like The Princess Bride.
It does. It does have a lot of a feel of a Princess Bride, except set in a kind of modernish world.
I love the princess.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yes. So if you like things like The Princess Bride, you might enjoy this book very much. All right, moving on to the next one. It's A Beauty and a Vampire by Demelza Brown. The first of 3 books.
No more vampires.
This is
I'm
the
done with
first of
vampires. Enough with them, please.
This is the first of 3 books in the Beauty and the Vampire paranormal romance series. The other books are $4 each, and the series is not in Kindle Unlimited. The 3rd book is available for pre-order and won't be out till next June. And the author also writes under the name E.M. Brown, but has no connection with Demelza Carlton. So even though both of them write fantasy retellings of classic fairy tales, and Demelza Carlton also has some very similar book covers. Demelza Carlton is a super best-selling author. She's all over these lists all the time. And the writing style of this book also reminds me a lot of Demelza Carlton. And the the story's kind of a familiar Beauty and the Beast kind of tale, but with a very, very different premise. So the story is about Dahlia, a maid, and her mistress is traveling to the city by carriage with her other maid and their driver and some horses. And they decide to take a shortcut through a forest because the lady is like running late, a whole bunch of stuff delayed her, even though people warn her not to go through the forest, that it's super dangerous and it's cursed. And halfway through,
so she goes in anyway.
And so she goes in anyway because she's a spoiled, rich, royal, noble person. So
why do characters always do the stupid stuff like that?
Because otherwise we wouldn't have a story. All right.
Because the plot requires it.
And we wouldn't have a sexy, dirty, filthy story like this one. So,
Rommel, I know you're into that.
They're attacked by wolves. One of the horses is injured. They see a castle in the center of the forest, and they decide to head for the castle to seek refuge for the night. And the castle's owner, an earl, is very happy to take them in because he's very, very hungry. He hasn't eaten for a couple of weeks. And now these visitors show up, saving him a trip to the local village so that he could eat a villager. Now the food has come to him. And apparently as part of this feeding process, he has to have sex with whoever he's eating. It's like, it's his curse that he's on. But
it's a curse.
It's a curse. He has to have sex and then like feed on his victims.
So he's like a Black Widow spider, but male.
Yeah, exactly. He's like the male Black Widow spider. He's got the servant, Addison, and they talk about the fact that the curse is supposed to be lifted if the Earl could find the most beautiful woman, and that the lady in the carriage is really, really pretty. I mean, they discuss this and they're thinking she must be the most beautiful woman in England or maybe even in the world. And so she could well be the one to break the curse. So maybe they should eat somebody else first. So maybe the servant, Addison, suggests that the Earl start by eating the driver, and which means you'd have to have sex with the driver. And the Earl's thinking about it. You know, he's not totally opposed to having sex with the driver. He'd rather have sex with a pretty lady, but he wants to save her for last. So, and it's kind of, there's dirty talk in here. There's dirty talk that indicates that the book is going to get very, very explicit. And we're switching between all 3 points of view, the maid, the Earl, and Addison, which kind of makes me think that the sex is going to become acrobatic. I did not read far enough to know, but I do have to say that the book is very, very readable. I mean, very, very readable. And it's kind of like one of those like penthouse letters, but like in book form.
Oh, okay.
So it is free. So what can I say? All right. Next we have a book, Grounded by Sarah Hualde. The first of 6 books in the Paranormal Penny Mysteries Cozy Mystery series. The other books are $1 to $4 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. This is the second time this book has been on this list. I previously reviewed it in July. So the protagonist is Penny. She lives in a van. She's 18. She works in a coffee shop. And she's psychic. So because her psychic abilities keep messing up her life, she's always ready to quit her job at a moment's notice and leave town. And the problem is that she can see signs that's when someone is about to die. And the closer she is to someone, the harder it is for her to ignore these signs. So I like Penny a lot, and I got caught up in the story. And and the day I was reviewing it, I read 18 chapters over lunch, which was half the book. So I really got caught up in this book. But it's a cozy mystery, but it moves really slowly. Halfway through the book, nobody had died yet. There was a murder attempt, but it could have been an accident. So
You heard it here, folks. Maria wants people to die.
I do want people to die. So I like the characters here. I like Penny. I like the town. I like Penny's cat. The world building is great. And I don't usually like books with teenage protagonists, but Penny is universally relatable and is very good at making coffee and helps the coffee shop owner out with other things. So she's really nice and she's proactive and she's trying to save her boss's life. So yeah, this book makes me happy and I highly recommend it.
So
Next we have
go by your local barista. Trust them.
Next we have Flair by Jonathan Maas, a standalone book of philosophical horror. Jonathan Maas has been on this list before. We had a couple of his stories here. And Alex KOROLOV read this book, and he says that it will appeal to fans of post-apocalyptic survival. And he read the first few chapters where you meet the two main characters and you find out what happened to the world. So what happened is that the sun has had an extended solar flare. Anybody who was outside died instantly. Anyone who looks at it even for a second is permanently blinded. You can be outside at night, but you have to find shelter before sunrise. And Zeke, one of the protagonists, is a traveler who's just trying to survive. And in the first chapter, he holds up in an old man's house and stops the old man from doing something he would regret. Then in the next chapter, we meet Ash, a young man who wakes up in his sister's house after being in a coma due to a car accident. He looks through the window, he draws back the curtains for just a second and gets some nasty burns from the sun because of it. And his sister's another part of the house taking care of her boyfriend. The boyfriend was also injured by the sun's light, and he's basically a melted human that she's trying to keep alive, covered in third-degree burns and blind. This sounds awful, but Alex liked it. He says he likes the premise and he's going to keep reading. The idea that the sun's light could suddenly turn deadly is terrifying, and he's enjoying finding out how the characters are going to survive in this crazy world. A single misstep means you get cooked to a crisp. And he's hooked. So I guess there's something for everybody. Next, we have The Dragon Rogues by D.K. Holmberg. The first of 3 books in the Dragon Rogues epic fantasy series. The other books are $5 each, but they're both in Kindle Unlimited. And Holmberg is also a regular on this list. I've read many of their books and have liked them. Oh, this list of books they've had on our list goes takes up a whole page here on my screen. So very prolific author and very popular with Amazon's sci-fi and fantasy readers. So I was already primed to like this book. And the premise is that Jonathan is a thief, and he's been hired to steal a crystal from a very well-defended vault deep inside this big warehouse. And he takes a small crew with him, just 2 of the people, a lookout, and somebody who's got magic ability to hide people. And they go and break into this warehouse, and it's very tense, very exciting to get to the crystal inside the vault. And of course, since this is the first chapter of the book, everything goes wrong. And the tone is serious. It's like an action adventure kind of tone. It's not like funny or cynical or something. It's a straightforward adventure. But the protagonist is clever and kind and careful and has good relationships with his team members. It seems to be a good guy despite the whole being a criminal thing. And I kept reading. This is fun. It got me caught up. I don't want to tell you what happens next because I don't want to spoil it, because there's fun twists in it. But I'm very, very much enjoying it, and I plan to finish this book. Next, we have Marilia the Warlord by Morgan Cole, the first of 3 books in the Chrysanthemum fantasy series. The other books are 3 to 471 each, and the series is not in Kindle Unlimited. And Terrence, you read this book. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was decent. The scene in chapter 1 where we saw the mother working, that made me a little uncomfortable. But other than that, it's so far I'm intrigued. It's a fantasy story that follows 2 siblings, Marilia and Anuis. And Marilia, she's going to end up becoming like this general who has to lead her people in wartime. And basically, the story follows the 2 of them as they go from best friends to worst enemies. It's one of those sibling rivalry type of stories.
Okay, I've got a question for you. In your review, you said that there's Marilia and Anuith are sisters.
I said they're siblings.
Oh, Anuith is a guy's name?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then you said that Marilia has sex with Anueth's mother. So she has sex with her own mother?
What? No.
The first scene of the story shows Marilia and Anueth's mother making love,
Yes.
but not to each other. To other people?
Yes.
I should probably go into the article and clarify that, because
Yes.
I thought they were having sex with each other, and that was like, oh my god, that is so gross.
Yeah, that's I would not read that kind of story. That's some straight up Oedipus complex kind of
Well,
stuff.
you compared it to Game of Thrones.
Wait, wait, I never read or watched Game of Thrones so much, so
Well, I haven't either. It's a little too grim for me, but I have read in reviews that there's incest in Game of Thrones.
okay, yeah. No. No. No incest in the story. Just a clarification. Yeah. Okay, back to this. Back to what I've read. I like how the prelude sets up what's to come. I like how it goes into Marilia's head at the time before this epic battle. She's struggling with her confidence a little. You can tell how big of a responsibility this is for her. And I also like this one character in the story. His name's One Eye. He's a regular at the brothel that goes there for drinks and to play games. And he's one of the only people there who sees Marilia as an actual human being, as opposed to just one of the employees. I guess he's kind of like a uncle type of character. And while I don't anticipate myself having the time to read this. I think it's definitely something that's worth looking into if this sounds like your kind of thing. And the audio version of this book is also available on bookshop.org, where a small amount of profits from sales goes to support independent bookstores. So that's if you like reading this for free, then get the audio from Bookshop.
All right.
And there's no incest. Zero incest in this story
So far,
so far.
I
Yes.
mean, it does promote itself as similar to the Game of Thrones. And
Yeah,
does
hopefully in the good ways, not the.
All right. Let's move on to Fate of Dragons by Bella Andrews. Let's make it a little bit bigger for you guys. There you go. Fate of Dragons. The first of what will be the Guardians Paranormal series. The second book is due out next October. It's the author's first full-length novel, though she's had short stories published before in anthologies. So the story is about Sienna, who's a witch. She's gathering herbs in the woods when a girl comes running up, yelling for help. Her dog's been poisoned. And Sienna tells the girl to pound some charcoal into water and pour it down the dog's throat. And she'll be there as soon as she can find some laurel leaves to counteract the poison. So the girl runs home to deal with the dog, and Sienna stays in the forest and gathers the rest of the herbs she needs. Now, she doesn't have enough time to take the usual footpath all the way back into town, and the direct way has a ravine in the way, and she uses her magic to help her get across a ravine. Then she goes to the house with a sick dog, sends the family outside. She tells them it's going to get messy. And then she does her magical things. The dog gets better, throws up all over her, but gets better. And everyone's super grateful, and Sienna goes home to her house. And then that girl shows up, the same girl from the sentence before. And she wants to be a witch, and she thinks that she has magical powers. She's already joined a coven, and she has a magic app on her smartphone. So now we know it's set in the present day. And Sienna does not want to take on a student. She doesn't want anyone to know she has magic powers. She's been hiding them. She doesn't think the girl has any. She thinks she's just a wannabe witch. But then something happens, and we do see them, both of them, kind of using their magical abilities, and they're in danger, and things happen. So it's kind of a moody book. It's not funny or cynical. It has a kind of a serious tone. It's set in the South, American South, so it has a kind of a Southern Gothic feel, a little bit like True Blood, the Sook House series, but with a little bit slightly more serious, a little bit less humor. Since the other books aren't out yet, and while I like Sienna, I like her interactions with the teenager, it doesn't quite grab me enough for me to read the whole book. But if I run out of other reading matter, I could see myself finishing it, but I have a lot of stuff on my reading list. And finally, Whispers in the Water by Sarah Chislon. This is a novella, a prequel to the 2-book Blood of the Fae fantasy series. The first book of the series is $5, the second is $6, and the second one is currently available for pre-order. It will be coming out next October. And the reason this book is number 1 on today's list is because when I started reading this, I went, oh my God, this feels just like Bridgerton. And I love Bridgerton. Okay, I hate historical romance and everything that Bridgerton is about, and the whole genre. I really, really hate it. I love Bridgerton, and I'm really enjoying this book. So, Jessa and her sister live in a fancy house with their aunt and dad, and there's a butler and cook and servants and stuff. So they're doing pretty well. And there's dinner parties that are being planned, and the mail is delivered and by the butler to them in the drawing room, the whole thing. Jessa's hobby is to make healing salves and potions, and she wants to write a book about it, and she's trying to get a publisher for her book. She is, as the book starts, she's trying to invent a salve that will help her sister get rid of a scar on her arm. And she's sitting there going through her notebooks full of sketches and notes about various herbs. Her aunt is also in the room, and they're waiting for the mail. Jessa's waiting for a letter from her publisher, which she doesn't get. But her aunt gets a letter, and she's disturbed by it. She doesn't want to tell Jessa what it's about. She claims that she's got a headache, refuses Jessa's offer of a healing potion, and leaves. And so Jessa's mother died 14 years previously, and her aunt had raised Jessa and her two sisters like they were her own children. So it's a slow-paced book, but very pleasant and soothing. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of Bridgerton. Wonderful setting. I like Jessa very much. So she's trying to cure her sister's scar, and then she saves an injured cat, and then she tries to figure out how to help her aunt with whatever's bothering her. She's capable, she's caring, not a fan of dinner parties. I think I will enjoy spending time with her, even though the second book isn't coming out for a while. So I might very well stick with it. And for people who like Bridgerton, this is kind of like Bridgerton, but with magic and fairies. So yeah,
Okay.
This is great. All right, so that was it for today's list. If you like it, please give us a thumbs up. If you don't want to miss any of these videos, we post them every single Friday evening. So definitely you do want to subscribe and hit that bell button. We also have a newsletter that goes out every single Friday exactly at 5 p.m. And the link to that newsletter subscription is in the box below as well. And as well as the link to the anthology and to our Patreon page. I want to thank our supporters. You guys are awesome, including Terrence. Thank you very much for supporting the publication. We love you. Me personally. Oh, and Terrence, the flash fiction submission cycle, the next one is going to be in March, right?
Yeah, it should be, as far as I know.
Yep. So assuming that we like and everybody else the industry doesn't collapse because of ChatGPT, and so if you're working on short stories, the deadline's coming up soon, so do submit. We pay 8 cents a word for original fiction, and there's you can publish on our website, you get paid, and you get a chance to be in our next anthology. So definitely look us up. So thanks everybody for coming. Thanks Terrence and Rommel for joining me. Thank you to you, the audience, for watching. It's great that you are here with us. And if you have any comments, if you have other books for us to suggest to read, or if you want to tell us what you thought of these books, let us know in the comments below. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Okay.